Hey everybody, No Vacancies, Glenn Haussman here. I'm so excited to see you today. Now, if you know anything about me, you know I am hot for the numbers. Give me some good hospitality figures, and boy, you got my attention. But also, I love myself, our friend Bruce Ford, SVP over at Lodging Econometrics. He's going to take us through all the numbers, what we're seeing out there, what the general industry overview is, what you need to know in the industry pipeline, plus lots of great commentary from the man himself, Bruce Ford. So great to see you, brother.
Glenn, you talked about figures. What is it about my figure that is so compelling for you?
Well, I listen, man. You've got the best figure in the business because you know what's going on. You've got a big staff there that's figuring everything out. You know all of the numbers in hospitality when it comes to that pipeline. But first of all, I don't know how it got to be August already, dude. It feels like summer just started. How's it been for you?
Well, it's been great. I haven't been to 11 Fish shows like you, but I did go to a concert to
Yeah,
see
it's
Elton John. That was good.
that's nice. All right, it wasn't 11; it was only 5 this summer.
Oh,
But
geez.
I
Well, you
think
still
since last summer, it's been like 14 or something like
okay.
that.
Very good. No,
Yeah,
the summer's been pretty good. It's
yeah,
certainly been a very interesting time for travel, very interesting time for the hotel business, very interesting time in the economy. So there's lots of things to look at, study, understand.
yep.
I've taken a couple trips, both by plane and by car, and kind of experiencing out there. And it's been pretty hot this summer. It's caused a lot of travel delays. It's kind of hard to decipher because the media wants to write that the exact number of airline flights that are canceled every single day, and it's hard to get context because um, is that really a labor problem at the air traffic control level? Is that a labor problem for employees of the airline? Is that a weather problem? Is that a
It could also be a health related issue because pilots and support staff are still coming down with the COVID virus, particularly since masks aren't on planes anymore.
Yep. Well, I would report that when I was in the airport last week, I felt like the mask percentage had gone up since the last time I
Hmm.
was in an airport about 45 days ago. So probably over 20%, but not really any higher than that.
Yep.
And each time I sat down in my Comfort Plus seat on Delta Airlines, I had people with masks on all around me. So it
Yep.
seemed to be, I'm not really sure if that's as a result of business travel, people just trying to be safe, because there's
Right.
still that great fear when you travel is you can get it again, and bringing that stuff home because we're not putting boundaries up anymore.
Also, you should probably get rid of the "Kiss Me, I Have COVID" T-shirt that you wear when you fly. That might help.
That's great. I replaced that with might contain bourbon. That's the shirt I'm wearing these days. uh,
Now that one I believe is true.
that it is true.
All right.
It's totally true.
All right.
So on the travel side, Glenn, with
Yeah,
TSA check-ins, which is
yeah,
what we've been monitoring,
yeah.
we're up over about 90% coverage to what we were in 2019. We've only had 3 days this year where we actually surpassed the comparable
Right.
day of check-ins to 2019.
Well, Bruce Ford, I happen to have those numbers in front of me, and we're recording this show on August 11th. And on August 10th, 2.1 million people passed through TSA compared with 2.39 million in 2019,
Yep.
but an extra 400,000 from the year before. And in 2020, I mean, 590,000. That's not
Yep.
even worth mentioning.
So it's right at about 90%. I
Yep.
mean, it's sitting right there, and
Hmm.
the airlines really can't handle a lot more at the moment. And so we're
Right.
filling up the schedule. The planes are full. The planes are over full,
Right.
especially with the few cancellations that
True.
you're getting.
True. So when you're looking at those numbers, Bruce, I think people just go, oh, there's fewer people traveling. I would posit that there's a lot of demand for those people to travel. It's just that there aren't enough planes going off right now. I still
Right.
think that the industry could add more capacity or replace smaller aircraft with larger aircraft.
They had 5 nonstops going to Boston from Atlanta
Yeah.
between like noon and 6 o'clock last Friday when I came home.
Hmm.
I was booked on the 4:15. I tried to get on the 12:50, and literally, this is a great story, Glenn.
Yeah.
Literally, I'm standing there at the Delta ticket counter, and the
Right.
guy says, literally, an entire basketball team would have to come and try and get on the plane, Mr. Ford, for you not to get on.
Uh-oh.
And I said, "Oh, okay, well, that's good." I'm so be home. I've actually sent a text to my wife. I'm like, "I might get on this flight."
Yep.
Then they canceled the 1:30, and here comes
Uh-oh.
that basketball
All
team,
right.
and I was the first loser, Glenn. You know
Oh,
how we play on that.
no. Hey, listen, everybody out there. I don't know if you know the pain of being first loser, obviously, first world problem that we're lucky enough to have, but that's usually when you can't get on the flight or you don't get that upgrade, but everyone ahead of you on the list did.
Ah,
Oh,
yeah.
man. So interestingly enough, Bruce, this summer, for looking at the general industry overview, the numbers say that it was great. And I think it could also lead people to believe that we're back to where we were and all that stuff. But depending on whether or not you're an optimist or a pessimist, I'll look at the pessimistic side of things. Everybody need to blow their travel wad this summer. They got tired of being home. Everyone said for the last 6 months, pent up demand, pent up demand, pent up demand. That demand of pentness is now been satiated. So what does that mean going forward to you when you're thinking about the general industry overview? Are you an optimist or a pessimist?
Well, I'm still pretty optimistic. I believe that we're probably in a better position than I expected we would be in last summer
Mhm.
from a travel perspective.
Yep.
Um, I think the thing that you'll start hearing about a little bit more on this summer season is that more people decided to go to Europe than travel in the United States. Europe is on sale, unprecedentedly on sale. In 2019, when prior to the pandemic, a euro was like $1.37. Today, it's
Mhm.
$1.02.
Mm.
You're not going to find that kind of discount anywhere else in the world to travel.
No, certainly not where I traveled this summer.
No. So as a result, I think a lot of people decided to take that European vacation, and
Yeah.
of course, that was aided by um, a release of the testing requirement going in and out of North America.
Yep. Mhm.
So as a result, you still have to be vaccinated to come into the United
Yeah,
States if you're
it's
coming
fine.
from overseas.
Mhm.
But as an American traveler, you don't have to be, and you don't have to test either.
Yeah, and for somebody that was subject to all of that testing, I'll be honest with you, it's stressful, and it
It's
makes you want to rethink whether or not you want to take a trip. We were going to go to Mexico in the summer of 2020 to do 20 sorry, summer of 2021 to do some live no vacancy broadcasts, but then decided last minute not to do that because of the risk that we wouldn't be able to get back.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that. I'm contemplating taking a couple of international trips towards the fourth quarter.
Mhm.
And there's still that kind of fear of that in some of the Asian countries because they're still seeing some lockdowns over there.
Yeah.
And I'd like to go to Singapore, but I certainly don't want to spend a month in Singapore.
Right.
I'd prefer to go for 5 or 6 days. So
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll
Yep.
see. But I think from a travel perspective, um, that might show up as a little bit of an effect on the luxury space from an operating
Mhm.
standpoint this summer. I think the expectations might not be a big, overwhelming beat. It might just be fall in line or perhaps be a little bit under. But when you talk about when does recovery show up, we were talking about 2019 and how does that compare? Um, you certainly see plenty of print out there about RevPAR is back to 2019
Yeah.
levels.
Mhm.
Okay, there's plenty of that, uh, but that's almost a false positive because truly expenses and costs at the hotel and at the hotel company are up some 25%,
Mhm.
affected by a lot of things, and
Yep.
inflation being one of those.
And labor, cost
Yeah.
of labor more. Mhm.
So really, you have to have RevPAR have grown 25% off 2019 levels to really say we're reaching the same profitability.
Right.
Now, you have probably figured out how to run your hotel as inexpensively as possible during the pandemic, okay, with as few people as possible. So let's talk about the sentiment of the average traveler who goes to a big full service or luxury hotel and says, I'm not getting the same level of service that I was before. Why am I paying more? It's called
Right.
scarcity of demand, Glenn,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so, I told you when we were together a couple of months ago that I thought, the days of getting a hotel room in Times Square for under $400 a night were likely over.
Yeah.
And I still do believe that. Okay. And I believe that will be the case in many urban centers, which might be a little bit of a drag on the return of business travel this fall because costs are still going to be right up there.
Yeah, particularly because airfares are up as well. And when you start to add up the overall cost of a trip, there are certain trips that I'm starting to rethink whether or not I really need to go ahead and do that.
Yeah. And so that's a big priority for the administration to try and really snuff out the inflation that's been rising up. I'm still surprised that the number one inflationary cost that's gone the craziest has been food now. It's not gas anymore.
No, it was
Uh,
up 1% just last month alone, up 10% in the last few months or something crazy like that.
that's a lot. And so that really hits the pocketbook of everybody in America. That's not class exclusive at all. The cost of food
Yep.
is a big part of the family budget, and in essence, that is not under control at this point, and not likely to be under control for a little while.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of a minor general economic concern, but honestly, Dan Lester, who I respect, been in the industry for a long
Yep.
time, Glenn, he put out his latest hospitality transaction report.
Of course, he's
He,
with LW Hospitality Advisors.
yes, and he had the perfect statement. He says, if you're sitting on cash right now, you're losing money.
Right.
Okay, so what does that say? That means that investments in the hotel industry are going to continue. Okay, and they're going to continue in an aggressive way because there's been a lot of money raised that would like to get activated in the hotel industry with potential return on investment.
Right.
So you're seeing companies continue to invest in their own properties. You're seeing companies continue to be strategic sellers of some properties and strategic acquirers of other properties, continuing to cycle through their capital.
So, what you're really talking about is a lot of the capitals is going into renovations and conversions as opposed to maybe new hotels.
100%, Glenn. We have almost an all time high in renovation and conversion numbers out there in the industry,
Really?
some 270,000 rooms affected in the database today.
That
Um,
is phenomenal. Wow.
it's
That's
a
an
big
interesting statistic.
it's a big number. And
And Bruce, we started this talking about how hot I get with the numbers over there. That's quite a statistic for me.
yeah, well, uh, you know who the leading conversion company is, Glenn?
No.
I'll give you
Wyndham?
I'll give you a multiple choice question. Is it Marriott? Is it Hilton? Is it Wyndham? Or is it Choice?
Well, I said Wyndham, so I'm gonna stick with Wyndham.
Well, it's not close. It's Choice Hotels. They
Hmm.
currently have 289 active conversions in the market right now.
Woo!
That's a
Wow.
very big number. Okay. And of course, it was announced today when we're recording this. You saw this
Yep.
morning
Yeah, the
the
deal's closed.
the acquisition is official. So it's now Choice and Radisson together, which
Yeah.
I really think, Glenn, is probably the best glue you could put together for any two companies. They really do, I think, fit together pretty well, as the
Mhm.
CEO went over in great detail on the second quarter conference call they had just a week ago. Choice didn't really have a lot of full service brands. The Ascend
Mhm.
collection is really their only thing that they have that's substantially a full service hotel. And so this ought to fit together really well. So I wish them the best with that. I think
Yeah.
the opportunity is really good for them
It's
with that
very
acquisition.
exciting to see what's going on with Choice Hotels right now. It's pretty cool. I'm actually going to be going out at the end of September to broadcast from the opening of the first ever home suites in Corona, California. So that should be pretty
Oh,
cool.
very cool. Will you
Mhm.
have Coronas while you're out there?
Uh, Hopefully the drink, not what we just went through over the last couple of years.
Understood.
Yeah.
Well, our
Uh,
friend Our friend and your Friday night audit partner just loves the irony of drinking Coronas every day.
Yeah, he certainly does. All right, so we're talking about how all of this fits in together, and we were using Choice Hotels' purchase of Radisson as an example here. But I was talking with a divisional president of one of the top largest management companies in our industry on the show that I broadcast today as we're recording this. And he was all about how new hotels are really slowing down, that capital is starting to dry up from the banks and stuff like that. Are you seeing that as well? And I guess ultimately, what's the real driver of going towards these renovation and conversions versus the new hotels?
So the construction pipeline has showed modest growth in the first 2 quarters of 2022. And the reason that that growth has happened is um, projects are failing to leave the pipeline at the speed that they were anticipated to because of ultimate delays in their openings.
Mhm.
Okay. We're still seeing projects being delayed on openings for really three reasons. One is labor, two is financing, cost overruns to finish the project, in some cases, having to go back to get more money.
Mhm.
But then the third thing is also the supply
Supply
chain
chain. Yep.
and installation issues,
Yep.
um, and a minor effect of potentially getting your property inspected in a timely manner by the city, town, municipality as well to
Yeah.
get
Agreed. That seems to be a problem I'm hearing more and more of.
to get your occupancy permits.
Mhm.
So new construction today, if we were comparing it to 2019, Glenn, in 2019 we had over 237,000 rooms under construction at this time in 2019.
Mhm.
Today we have 132,000 rooms under construction. So a significant reduction in the rooms that are physically in the ground today. The size of the pipeline and the difference in 2019 versus today is 780 versus 632. So we've seen a reduction in the rooms in the pipeline, but really, talking with what your ownership and management company was saying today, there's still projects entering the pipeline. However, the expectation to begin those projects is well into next year.
Right.
So it really will be a full renovation and conversion cycle that we're in right now, which is pretty atypical of where we are in the real estate cycle
Mhm.
because we bounced off the hard bottom of the pandemic
Mhm.
sometime in the summer last year.
Mhm.
Okay. And
That makes sense.
we've been improving ever since. We continue to improve. The operating environment is wildly better. The traveling
Mhm.
environment is wildly better.
Sure is.
But now we kind of have a little bit of a yawl, okay, or a yawn or a pause. The second quarter did not reveal the transaction volume that the last 9 months had. There was a little bit of a slowdown, and it was because of the Federal Reserve raising rates twice. So not only did the sellers have to go back and recalculate, the buyers had to go back and recalculate, and the banks have now got to go back and recalculate as to what the returns are required if they're going to put money out.
All right. Mhm.
So, in essence, we had a slowdown in transactions. We had a project delay set up in the last 60 days. So, I just did today. I said to the database, I said, of the 960 hotels that are under construction, how many have seen an opening date delay in the past 60 days? And the answer was more than half.
Wow.
So, in the general pipeline, about 2 out of every 5 projects in the active pipeline have seen a delay in their timeline over the past 60 days. But when you get to under construction, it's over 50%. So what that says is that even in our best case scenario, with our best anticipated timeline, with all the planning that we've done, we're still missing the mark on opening dates due to external economic factors. So that on its own alone will wear out those developers, and they'll say, you know what, maybe it's not worth it.
All right.
Let's put those hammers and nails away, and let's break out the paintbrushes so that we can renovate our own hotels.
So then, what does that tell you about the strategy that industry vendors and suppliers should be taking going forward?
Well, it's clearly a time to really be focused on accounts. You have to call those owners and management companies and make relationships again. You have different people on your
Yeah,
team. They have different people on their team.
for sure.
Their method to acquire and procure those products is totally different in a
Mhm.
post-pandemic environment. I think accounts really make a lot of sense. Also, understanding that client, you have the capacity in the marketplace to be able to do that better than ever before. Understanding your market share, where you're installed, whether that's by brand and franchise company or potentially even by individual owners and management companies. All of that type of detail is out there and available in the marketplace and should be analyzed as you reset your sales goals going forward. We're still anticipating 4 times more opportunities for conversions and renovations in the market this year and next year
Wow.
than new construction. So that's a different type of selling style, a different type of selling profile, and really a different type of salesperson too, because you're
Mhm.
replacing what's already there, which is
Right,
different from just putting out a quote and saying, yeah, oh, you need 62 bathtubs. Well, okay, here's a quote for 62 bathtubs versus we want to renovate all of our bathrooms. Some of them just need to be resealed, some of them need to be
right.
replaced. Very different type of um, relationship and vetting going on with both the seller of the product and the buyer of the account.
What do you see about investments in new products and services to help operating hotels become more efficient, successful, or profitable?
Well, I have seen certainly a lot of suppliers really take this angle. You do have to spend to save.
Mhm.
In many cases, putting the right type of technology in your hotel to manage the temperature in the guest room better, that does cost money on the upfront, but obviously pays a lot of dividends on the back end.
Mhm.
I think safety and security inside of a hotel is of concern to the traveling public. So things like new door locks, RFID, new security, safes in the guest room, I think all of these things are going to be near the top. Technology is one of the things. It's a pretty broad word when you think
Right.
about
Yeah.
hotels because technology is both guest facing, but it's also um, internal to the hotel too. So the software that you install inside of the hotel that interfaces with the guest room booking and management of the energy inside the hotel, that is not guest facing at all, but having a VoIP phone is,
Right.
having a better thermostat is, having perhaps sleep enhancements inside the guest room. There's lots of different things going out there now. I Have you heard of this company called Sleep 8, Glenn, or
No.
8 Sleep?
Nope.
So 8 Sleep is a temperature control to your bed. It also monitors your health and wellness while you
Mm.
sleep. So apparently, this is very um, useful at the athlete level. High. I guess maybe more high speed people than us, Glenn. Is that what we should say? uh, you went.
I'm
You
extremely
did
high
two.
speed.
You did 2 hours in the gym this morning, right?
I did 3 fish shows last weekend.
Okay. But there's lots of technology that's really bringing uh, a more well-rounded experience to the hotel. I mean, even inside of the hotel itself, they're really trying to maximize every square foot of the offering in the building. I think is
Yep.
really the most important thing. And reimagining food and beverage is right up there at the top as well. Um, my needs in food and beverage, and it's really kind of all changed post pandemic. A lot more grab and go, a lot more prepared food inside the hotel available. I mean, I stayed at both an AC and a Hilton Garden Inn, and I'm sorry, a Hampton Inn last week, and prepared food available to
Right.
be warmed up in the microwave, if you will, or that you could even buy a bottle of wine at the AC. I hadn't seen that before,
That's
but
nice.
yeah, but all of this offering, I mean, obviously those are pretty high profit centers, these
Yeah.
grab and go markets, but even you've seen in some of the full service hotels we've gone to, you almost got a grocery store in the full service hotel now between the market for the Starbucks and all the different types of offerings they're doing. some of that's very good profit for the hotel and a different way of delivering food and beverage service outside of the traditional eating hours.
Right. Yeah. And that's something we've been talking about for years, making those things happen. Another great opportunity I see, Bruce, is the whole notion of ghost kitchens. Right.
Yeah.
We have been talking about that enough. If you have food and beverage space that's not performing great, and you have this kitchen in the back, you could add so many cool brands that people are familiar with. And I bet not only be able to serve people within the hotel, but within the surrounding community itself.
Yeah.
I think graduate hotels have started doing that, as a matter of fact.
Sure. So ghost kitchen is a great idea. I mean, we have some of those restaurant companies that have multiple brands. Sometimes they don't necessarily have to open a brick and mortar location. They can do both brands
Yeah,
out of one restaurant.
yeah.
So is that coming to the hotel industry? Are brands talking about that?
I'm gonna look this up right now, but I know Graduate Hotels is doing a ghost kitchen. So
So they're often in urban centers, either that or kind of at those college campuses, if you will. So
yep.
that makes a lot of sense. A little bit more of an elegant dining experience.
So specifically, the Graduate Food Hall will feature dine-in options within the lobbies, as well as delivery and takeout.
Yeah.
So that very, very clever idea, I think, in
Hmm.
my opinion, particularly if you're going to be able to serve the community that's around you. I think
Sure.
about all those Domino's pizzas and chicken wings that I got when I was in college, and as my kids embark on their college adventure in just a couple of weeks, I think that it'd be great if they were order those things. A hotel could be a profit center for it.
100%. And inside of those, I guess smaller brands, you kind of get that value proposition can move across the franchise really quite a bit quicker than some of the
Yep.
bigger, larger brands.
Yep.
But I think some other trends that we're seeing, Glenn, I
Hmm.
expect that transactions will pick back up again.
Yeah.
We're still going to see portfolios sell. We're still going to see portfolios convert. Of course, on Choice's quarterly conference call, they did say that the acquisition that Blackstone and Starwood did, I'm sorry, Brookfield and Starwood did, when they bought a number of existing wood springs away
Hmm.
from Jack DeBoer's estate, um, they're going to convert them to extended stay Americas.
Right.
So that will be about 112 conversions. And of
Wow.
course, Starwood and Blackstone purchased extended stay America last year.
Yep.
So those could that will be a great real estate move, I think, for Starwood Capital. And Choice is going to get a termination fee out of that, which
Right.
would seem to be fairly substantial. So
And it's pretty exciting, especially for our friend Greg Jusian, who became president and CEO over there earlier this year.
yeah, so there's still going to be a lot of portfolio movement. I expect we'll probably see some more management companies get together, perhaps funded by private equity. I think certainly as the Fed rate changes kind of work through the system, it's still not onerous, overly expensive to get money if you want to acquire a hotel
Hmm.
or if you're acquiring a revenue stream. It's still somewhat doable. The math is just slightly different. But I think you would accurately say that new construction is probably in the third position now. I'm going to renovate, I'm going to convert, I'm going to buy a hotel. And then the fourth thing would be maybe I'll build a new one. So just less properties in the pipeline for the time being. But it doesn't spell any less opportunity out there for suppliers and vendors. It certainly doesn't spell any less opportunity for the owners and management companies. We're just focusing on a different slice of pizza in the circle of life, right?
Yep, you got that right. All right, Bruce Ford, our time's almost up. How can we learn more about what you guys do and where to find you?
So you can visit us at lodgingeconometrics.com. We're on both Facebook and LinkedIn. We have put out most of our quarterly releases with brand new forecasts for new hotels, as well as sizing on the pipeline and talking about markets all over the country and all over the world. We'll be putting out our global press release probably around in the next week or so. But the news is the news is positive. I think hotel real estate continues to remain very attractive to the general investment community, and I expect it to remain that way as we kind of bounce off the bottom and continue up this cycle of recovery. And of course, Bruce at lodgingeconometrics.com if anytime I can be of any assistance to anybody.
Beautiful. Bruce Ford, thank you so much for being here. Really, really appreciate it.
Wonderful to get with you, Glenn. We'll see you
Yeah.
soon, my friend.
Yeah. See you soon. And hey, you can find all of those numbers at novacancynews.com, plus lots more news and information to help empower your career, yourself, and your business. Thanks for watching a special episode here of No Vacancy. We'll be back next time with lots of great information. Until then, thanks for watching. Have a great day.